Here we are back in Battery Central, and what I'd like to talk about today is this NITECORE charger. This is the NITECORE Digicharger, the D4, as indicated on the screen there. Now, where this comes into its own is okay for RC enthusiasts and folks that like programming things for each different type of battery. We can select on this charger, but we need to know the type of battery, we need to know the capacity so that we can work out the charge currents, the termination voltage, etc, etc. And that's just too much for some people. They just want to be able to plug in the battery and charge it. So that's where this guy comes into its own, because this will handle nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydrides, lithium ion, lithium polymers, and it works it all out itself. So just as an example, here's a little NiCad cell. This is, I think, out of a solar panel or something, and we just simply put it into the charging unit, and it goes through a little routine where it works out what type of battery it is and then sets the charging parameters accordingly. So on the display here, it's worked out that this is a nickel metal hydride or a nickel cadmium, so we know it's a nickel cadmium. So it's set the charge mode to dV by dt. That's the change in voltage over time. That's how it works out where the charge terminates, because there's a little bump in, if you draw a graph of the voltage against time, as it reaches its peak, it actually goes out over a voltage curve and then dips down the other side, and that's how it's called the delta peak. That's how it measures the end of charge. So you can see here we've got a charge status indicator. It's charging it at 750 milliamps, and it tells you the current voltage as well. So that's pretty easy, simple, straightforward. Similarly, that's another NiCad. As I say, this will charge all sorts of different battery types. So, for example, we have here a little cell which again is out of a solar charger. Now this is a funny size. This is a 2/3 AA, 200 milliamps, and it will actually fit into the slot there, but it's a little bit on the short side. So what I often use is either well, this is a little magnet out of a CD-ROM drive. So I just put the magnet on the bottom of the cell there, and that will give it enough to contact, and we can see now that it's going through its little routine, and again it tells us it's a nickel metal hydride, and it starts off the charge. So very flexible in the sizes of cells that it can use as well. So let's see if we can trick it. Now this cell is a Sanyo Eneloop. Now the Eneloop cells are very interesting in that I know that it's a nickel metal hydride, but the cell voltage, now this one does need a charge, but if we just measure the cell voltage, it's 1.3.5, and if it was fully charged it would be nearer the 1.4 to 1.5. So it could be interpreted as a typical AA cell, an alkaline cell, and I do use these in alkaline cell applications, especially with things that draw quite a bit of current, like this blood pressure meter. I really need this to cope with some of my clients. Anyway, so if we put the Eneloop in here, let's see what it makes of that. You can see that the display changes over to the third position, and it goes through its little routine again, and we haven't managed to fool it. It knows that it's a nickel metal hydride, and again it's putting in the charging parameters that it needs. So moving on, so we know that this is an AA size NiCad, as it says on there, AA size, but what's this guy? Now, to all intents and purposes, it's the same size as an AA cell. If we put it into a standard AA charger, we may have a problem, because if we put it into the charging unit, see, we're now on to the fourth position here. It's a lithium ion. Now, I know this already because I bought them, but this is a Sanyo lithium ion battery, which is actually out of one of these little Cree LED torches. So we didn't even have to know what the type of the cell was. It's already gone into its constant current. This needs charging, obviously. So it was in the first part of the charging cycle for the lithium ion type of batteries, which is constant current. It'll remain in constant current until the voltage rises up to around the 4.2, and it goes into constant voltage for the final part. So it didn't fool it, and we can see exactly what it is. So with this type of charger, a universal charger if you will, we got lots of different types of cells in there. Now this is just a charger at the top here, and all that can do is the 18650 type cells. You may have seen in some of my other videos me reclaiming those batteries, and indeed in this other torch, if we have a look in here, this is one of the cells which I recovered from a battery pack for an old laptop. And if we just say interrupt the charge on this inner loop, so if we put the 18650 in here, you can see that it'll take those full size cells as well, and it's going through its little routine now, and once again it's determined correctly that it's a lithium ion cell, and it's going through the voltages there. Once the charge is complete, it will show you obviously on the display there. One sort of minor niggle, being a geek, is it doesn't actually tell you the capacity of the cell that it's put in there. It does tell you the time that it's charged, and you can see the current that it's using. But it is a very, very flexible unit indeed. Now, I actually bought one of these units for my sister. She lives back in the UK, and she loves her solar cells and things, solar panels and lights for the garden. But she has the problem, you know, is it an NiCad, is it a nickel metal hydride, is it a funny size? So I bought her one of these units, and it's been working excellently for her to top up those ones that can't charge reliable in the UK for some reason. So there it is, fantastic flexible unit. One thing to be wary of is that because it is such an excellent device, there are clones and copies of it out there. So I recommend getting it from a reliable source. I've put a link in the description to Banggood, where I got this unit from, and indeed the one for my sister. And Christmas is around the corner,